Hey guys, this is Eunice. Thank you for joining me today. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing a friend that I met once at a conference, and her name is Daniela. So, I met her because I had my daughter with me at this conference, and she just came up to us in one service with Play Doh that she had bought my daughter during a break just to bless us. And I was so grateful. You know, any parent loves when people notice our kids and are playing with them. So I just started talking to Daniela, and it was cool because she sat with my daughter, Joy, and started doing Play Doh. Now, here's me doing Play Doh is I'm making like balls, maybe three little balls and putting it in a snowman. And I'm like, Joy, look, a snowman. Then I look over at Daniela, and then she's made this like intricate like flower. And I'm like, okay, this lady is like next level artist or something. So I just started asking her what she did. And she told me how she was a school teacher. Anyway, I just like loved her creativity and was fascinated by it. I started following her on social media, and I loved recently seeing in this past year how she launched her own business of jewelry making, and it's called okay, I'm gonna slaughter this again. I'm sorry.
There you
Bezell
go.
and Co. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and I just love, you guys know, if you followed me for some time, I love when people are following their dreams. So Daniela and I have really talked a lot over this past year just about pursuing dreams and just the dreams that the Lord has planted in our hearts, not just any random dream, but I just love how the Lord plants these dreams in our hearts. And I have just loved seeing her business grow. So, Daniela, can you introduce yourself a little and introduce your business to all of us?
Yeah, so my name is Daniela. I am Mexican American. I grew up in Texas and then I moved up to Massachusetts where you met me for school. That's where I met my husband. We were both educators at first, and then we got married, and we've been part of like the community that you met us in here in New England for like 8 years now. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, how I got here, and yeah, where we've been. So we've been in Boston. We're actually moving down to North Carolina in June, which is going to be a huge change for us.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what made you want to start Bezalel and Co? Because you were, like you just mentioned, like teaching or something.
Yeah, so I was a teacher. I initially I studied history in school, and what I really wanted to do, I wanted to be a history teacher. In college, I just loved the idea of like being able to teach people about both specifically students and specifically like low income first generation college students. That was kind of like my demographic that I was really passionate about. So I did that. I taught history, world history, Spanish for the past 6 years here in the Boston area. And I loved my job. I feel like teachers sometimes like don't get all like the credit and respect that they deserve. Teaching is amazing. I loved my students. And I like, especially in my last 3 years, I was actually working at a Christian school, and I was part of like the diversity committee there. And that work was really fulfilling. And I was leading like the women's Bible study or young ladies Bible study. And it was just like so life-giving and awesome. But after I had my son Joshua, I just needed like a different level of flexibility. And I felt like I wanted a job that I could do from home. So I took a year off after I had Joshua. Then I went back to school to teaching full time. And then that's when I knew kind of like if there was a way that I could do something more part-time from home, that would be like the dream. And right around the same time, I was introduced to polymer clay. So I'm wearing polymer clay earrings today, and pretty much every day, but especially today. So it was just kind of like, I think a friend of a friend was selling polymer clay earrings, and I saw them for the first time like 3-ish years ago. And as soon as I saw them, I don't know, something just clicked. I saw them and I thought like, I want to do that. I think I could do it. And at the time I talked to my husband, Joshua was like a brand new baby, and we kind of just felt like it wasn't the right time. So polymer clay is like a type of plastic clay. You bake it to like set it and cure it. And I just I was, I was nursing him. He was so little. It didn't seem like the best time. So I did make like a few earrings and then kind of like put that dream aside. Like I was kind of like, I really want to do this, but maybe it's not the time. And then like a year later, once Joshua was a little like, not with me all the time, I that's when I picked it up again and I started making them. And I couldn't like shake I just kept thinking of designs all the time. Like even in that year that I wasn't touching polymer clay and I knew like it's not really the time to like take this up more seriously as a business. I was just constantly doodling new earring designs. And finally I felt like, well, let's give this a try again. And I did. I started in December of 2019, almost 2020. And I made like a few pairs of earrings. I gave them away to friends. And then like a month later, I was selling them because every time I posted them on Instagram, they would just immediately sell out like minutes after I posted them. And so it was very encouraging. I think it's a pretty unique experience. Like I've had a lot of other like things that I'm passionate about. Like we had an Airbnb. I had a food blog for a while. And I think for a lot of those things, I was pretty passionate about them at first as well. But I feel like there was just like a different level of grace with the earrings, specifically in the season. Even here, like I shared, I wanted to do it for a long time, but it just wasn't the right time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I loved following your food blog. I remember I'd comment because you would do like Korean, Mexican fusion things. And I'd be like, man, your husband's blessed. Those are two wonderful foods.
Yeah,
So
my husband's Korean.
Yeah. Could you share a little about how you got the name even of your business?
Yeah, so Bezalel and Co. So in the Bible, there is a guy named Bezalel. I don't think I really knew that much about him either until it's like everyone always asks what the name is about. And I read this book called Art for God's Sake, and it just talks about like Christianity and art. Like often those two things seem like they're in like opposition to one another. Like if you're an artist, you're kind of like not a Christian. But it talks about how like there is a really strong connection between our Christian faith and also like creativity. So in that book, he talks about Bezalel, and the verse where he comes up in scripture first is Exodus 31st. And I'll just like read it for us. It just says, so it's just like the Lord telling Moses that he called Bezalel. And he says, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with ability and intelligence, with knowledge and all craftsmanship, to devise artistic designs, to work in gold, silver, and bronze, and cutting stones for setting, and in carving wood, and to work in every craft. And that just like really spoke to me, just the idea that like, first of all, like God is like filling someone with his Spirit in Deuteronomy, and like the outcome of that infilling is just like creativity. So Bezalel is actually the guy in charge of building the tabernacle. And that spoke to me too, because like, like I think if whatever like the tabernacle, however, all the specifics, which I don't like fully understand, it's very complex, but for whatever reason, God chooses to make this physical building to house his presence here on earth. And like to me, it feels like it would be more logical to just like drop down this like structure from heaven that's like fully glorious and ready to go. That's what I would do. It's more efficient. It's perfect. But instead he like works with humans. He like chooses to fill us with his Spirit. And he gives Bezalel the vision and the skills to accomplish this beautiful setting that's meant in some way to replicate and to reflect some like heavenly reality and like standard of beauty. So that idea just spoke to me that God can use us as humans, and then that we can be filled with creativity and use it to kind of like bring God glory. So that inspired me. And I actually went on Instagram and I like stole the handle Bezalel and Company. This was like earlier before I even had the business, because I just liked it. And initially I thought I was going to just be sharing the work of other Christian makers on this website. And then like when I did start Bezalel and Co., or the earring business, I just took the name and ran with it.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that, because honestly, that's something I have been exploring, because we have a son graduating this year from high school, and he's very artistic and he wants to start an art business. Now, if anyone knows Chris and I, neither of us are artistic at all. And so for us, like for me, I'm literally just drawing like stick figures, and our son's drawing these like crazy digital things. And I'm just like amazed by him. And something that Chris and I have always wanted to really just do is not keep any of our kids in any one path or like in a box. Just because Chris and I have chosen a certain path doesn't mean our kids will or whatever. And so I have definitely been following different artists to really help guide my son, honestly, because I wish I was more creative. I'm really not. And I've just accepted that in my life. I'm 43, but my son, I really do want to see just the Lord use all of the gifts that he has given him. And so, could you share some of what has been the best part of starting your own business and what has been the worst part?
Yeah, there's a lot of hard parts and good parts.
Oh,
Um, I think I didn't even know I wanted to start a small business for a long time. But I was actually at a church retreat, like a leadership type retreat, and they kind of asked us like, go around and share your life vision with the group. And I was kind of like dreading when it would be my turn to speak, and I had nothing planned. I was like, okay, I like cooking. I couldn't think of anything. And somehow when it got to my turn, I kind of just said, I want to start a small business. And then I kind of like was like, I do. Like, I don't even know where that came from. And then of course everyone was like, what would your small business be about? And then I had no further ideas. I just said, I'm not sure. I just know I'd like to start a business so that it could like bless other people. And that was it. That was like the extent of it. But I do think like I'd always had that dream in my heart in some way. I just
yeah.
didn't know exactly what it would look like. So I think the best part is that like I also another like a whole this could be a whole different conversation that I'm not like ready to have yet, but I do have ADHD. I was just diagnosed unofficially, but after I had my son Joshua.
Mm,
And once I found that out, kind of like the rest of my life made sense after realizing that. But
wow.
essentially, I'm like very creative. I have like a ton of ideas all the time. And then so this business in a way is the perfect outlet for that, because I have like I have an idea and I can make a brand new product that day. And so it's really enabled me to learn like a lot of different mediums. Polymer clay was the first one, but I also laser cut. So I'm not sure if people are familiar with laser cutting, but you can laser cut. It's kind of like Cricut. Like the Cricut is I have one there. It's like a little machine with a blade, and you can make cards and
Oh,
flowers
wow.
and all sorts of things. But the laser is like a Cricut with fire, so you can cut through wood and like thicker things and just make anything that you can imagine. So it's been really fun to learn like new skills. Like I think that's what I loved about being a teacher. It was like learning, and now I get to constantly be learning new things, new mediums to work with, new ways to incorporate them into jewelry. So I think
Wow.
like that's the biggest blessing, just knowing like that this is my job, that I get to think up new things and just make them happen. That's what I love. I love connecting with people, which I didn't expect either. I'm kind of shy and introverted, but it's a really cool feeling to like put your product out there. I do a lot of pop-ups, usually at least once a week during the summer. And then just, getting to make something and put it in front of people and see like their reactions to it. People like sometimes come back and they're like, I lost one of my earrings and I have to have another like pair to match it because it's my favorite, or they'll buy like a meaningful gift for someone. So I think connecting with people, getting to like learn and be creative every day, those are definitely the highlights. And then I will say this as a mom, I think the final thing that I love is just the flexibility of working from home.
Yeah.
Just being able to squeeze the work in around my son's schedule at this stage of his life, he's 2.5, is really nice. Just knowing that I don't have to go to work all day. I did work when he was 1 for a year full time, and that was a little bit difficult. So I'm glad I don't
Yeah.
have to do that for now. So those are the highlights. The difficult parts are just managing my own time. Just like I said, the ADHD part makes my business amazing because I have like 30 prototypes, earring themes, ideas for the next of the year planned out, and probably 30 new ones that I haven't yet thought about that I'll also explore. But the downside is that I have to manage myself. As a teacher, I have to show up to work at a certain time and I'm there. And someone tells me, I have a curriculum, I have a test that kids need to pass. I have kind of these outside motivators. And as a small business owner, no one really does that except for my husband, who sometimes like, will, hold me accountable to like being productive and things like that. But that's the biggest challenge. Just there's a ton of logistics to manage, buying enough inventory, like not running out of supplies, the pop-ups. If I'm having people staff the pop-ups, I have to contact those people ahead of time. Talking to the people at the events, managing all of my equipment, my tent, my tablecloths, everything that you can imagine, and a lot of things that you don't until you're there and you realize, like, I don't have anything
Oh
for people to
no.
put their earrings in. Like, I should have brought bags or something.
Uh-huh.
So I think the logistics can be a bit overwhelming, and just like the legal stuff too. It's my first year filing taxes in the next, recently. So just a lot of logistics to manage. And then the business side of the business is definitely pretty tedious and boring, but necessary. So so some of
Wow.
the positives and some of the negatives.
And I'm amazed because you also didn't mention like how you've been doing metal. So I bought these earrings from Daniela online at my birthday last December, and I love them. They are my favorite. I just love like the minimalist style.
Yeah, they look so good on you. I'm so happy
Oh,
that you got
thanks.
this. So actually those, I started carrying gold plated earrings that I don't make myself, that I was sourcing.
Uh-huh.
I'm just starting to work with metal.
I
I
see.
haven't gotten like a setup here because it's a little like more intense. I need to have like you have fire involved, and like also lots of chemicals for like working the metal. So anyway, I'm not setting up any metal here until we move, just because it's like a huge undertaking. But yeah, I
Oh,
am learning metal
wow.
smithing, and it's a lot of fun, just like making earrings and like ring bands. So I've been kind of learning that as well.
Oh, nice. That's amazing. I just love your creativity. I'm literally amazed every day when I look at your content, because you're very active on social media too. And so, but just like how you do have so many ideas, I'm always like, how does she come up with all these ideas? So that is really awesome. How the Lord just gives you all these cool ideas, and how you actually like, I think for me, it's also like how you actually like take action to learn more, which I guess shouldn't surprise me because I know you are very intelligent. You and your husband met in college or something, right? At a very good university. And so, but it does amaze me because I'm always like, wow, she's working with a new thing again.
I know it's kind of a problem though, Eunice. Like that's what I'm saying. It's like my blessing, but also like the struggle. Because
uh,
my husband will say, like, what are you doing today? And I'm like, I'm working with resin. He's like, why are you working with a new medium when you have like 3 other things that you already know how to do? So I've been trying to like listen to him, because he is very wise and helpful.
uh-huh.
But yeah, so it's good, I think. And and I think that's one of like the cool things about the business, is that I can just try something and see if it works out. So that, like with the markets too, that's been a huge blessing. I can just make an earring and bring it to the markets, and usually it will sell. It might take a few weeks, but it will sell. Where I think if my store was only online and I were stuck with inventory for a long time, then I think I would have to be more strategic about what I make. But it's been a huge blessing that I can just make a neon earring and sell it, and make a resin earring and sell it, and just not be like, I don't have to plan out so far in ahead what my collection is or what I'm doing. So
Uh-huh.
I really like that part of the market. It's just that I can just try something and move on if it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't live close enough to go to one of your market sales, but that sounds cool.
Maybe one day we'll be in the same city at the same time.
Yeah, that would be crazy. But that's cool. I love this stuff, even just that I see online and stuff. So, next question is, what advice can you give to someone who is dreaming about launching a new business?
I think like I heard this somewhere, and I wish I remembered where, but the idea is that like that you should just get started. Is kind of the idea that if you're not
Mm,
embarrassed by your first video, earring, t-shirt, whatever your passion is, like if you're not embarrassed by the first thing you put out there, you waited too long. And I kind of agree with that to some
oh,
degree.
wow.
But the idea is just like, I think, and it depends on your personality too, but I think a lot of us maybe struggle with like perfectionism, or like wanting to have this like perfect idea or this perfect product 100% ready to go before we present it to other people or we try to sell it. But I think like that actually can keep us from kind of like figuring out if we're even supposed to like do something.
Sorry.
Um, yeah, no worries. Um, I have a friend who started a business and she spent like a ton of time like looking up all of this background information and like buying this expensive gear. And then she started and I think she realized she didn't enjoy it as much. And
Oh,
I felt like maybe if she had just started like putting some feelers out and seeing if people liked the stuff and like just kind of trying to sell it earlier on, I think that might have been beneficial. So I would say just get started. If like there's something that you're interested in pursuing, like making your own t-shirts, making stickers, digital illustration, whatever the thing may be, I would say like just invest some time in learning the thing, taking a class online, in person, and then just like sharing it with people, not necessarily like selling it. I do think there's wisdom in like making sure you're not going to sell something that's going to fall apart or like just make a bad impression on people instead of a good one. So it's kind of like a weird balance, but I would say start before you think you're ready and just kind of like get some insight. Like, do people seem, especially if it's a business and you're trying to sell something, like, are people generally interested in the thing that you're offering? And then from there, kind of gauge and see if you want to pursue that further or keep working on your skills or those kinds of things.
That's good. So you said earlier, you started by giving them as gifts and just seeing like people's response and things like that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. My son actually did this one piece of digital art for this photographer, and she was absolutely in love with it, and has gotten so many compliments that she actually reached out to us to ask if she could start giving my son's info out, because she said it's getting she just wants to be able to respond because people keep persisting. So I was really blessed by that encouragement because I'm like, oh, okay, like I guess people like these kinds of logo things or whatever. So that's cool advice.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
that's great. Like that would be like a sign, right? Like just kind of putting it out there and like if you get positive feedback, going, like putting more energy into that and investing more into it.
yeah, I love that. Recently, one of my viewers asked me this question, which is, how do you know if something is God's will for your life? So like for you starting this business, like how do you know? Like how do you know to take that first step? So I have a word of advice on that. And then if you, while I'm sharing, could think of something, that'd be awesome. If you don't have anything, that's okay. No pressure. But I just wanted to share Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, which is trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. So something I just wanted to share in response to that question, because my this viewer was asking more in terms of like, a new venture or something like that, is when the Lord does speak something, I think we always need to be willing to obey him and making movements toward it, but then also just be willing to pivot if necessary. So that's my answer to this viewer's question, because I feel like a lot of times we can just sit in fear and overthink, or even like what Daniela was saying earlier is it's this fear-based perfectionism is like just be stuck like, oh, I don't know. I personally believe that as we start taking steps towards something, the Lord is so faithful in guiding us. He's also so faithful in redirecting our steps. Like if we have laid it before him, he is not going to try to hide it from us. Like he's the one that planted that dream in your heart. And so if it really is a dream that you feel like is from the Lord, I just want to encourage everyone who has something like that to just consider stepping out, do one step. Like what even I was encouraged what Daniela said about start making some, like let's say the Lord gave her that idea about the earrings, which it does seem like he directed her path that way, is start by introducing it to people, being faithful and even learning more about clay. And I love how she's learning more about that cutting machine. Is that what it's called? The
Yeah,
laser
laser cutting.
machine? Or even just willing to take those steps, and the Lord, as you present it to the Lord, he is so faithful to want to speak to us and to direct our steps. And that's just what I want to encourage everyone listening, because I just know, like, even um, for Chris and I starting our little ministry, The Journey Home, did we know 100% this was the Lord's will? Not necessarily, but it was something that he put in our heart. It's in line with the giftings he's given us. And so we just started taking little steps of obedience in um, just getting our website up and offering it before people. And then also, offering like our coaching, and then offering our podcast and things like that. And so it's like, he has been faithful, and he will continue to be faithful, to redirect our steps if we are not walking in what exactly he wants us to do. And so I just wanted to encourage everyone who also has that. Maybe some of you listening has that fear-based perfectionism, or just that question mark of like, oh, okay, is it the time or whatever? I just want to encourage you to step out and just keep offering it before the Lord, because he is so faithful. He loves us. He's not trying to hide his will from us. It was him that planted that little dream in our hearts. So why would he not be faithful in seeing that being fulfilled? So Daniela, do you have any last thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that's exactly it. I think if like you have a desire in your heart, if it matches your gifting, right? Like if you have some sort of like proclivity, right? Like if I was called to be a prophetic singer, or if I felt led that way, that might be a problem because I have no, I can't clap on beat like that. That might not be like the Lord directing me in that direction. Even if I
Okay.
had that desire, maybe that wouldn't be like the next thing for me. But so I think just kind of like seeing like what God has already gifted you with, seeing what God has placed in your heart, and then just like eliminating like the huge pressure of making like a big or like like quitting your job, or like buying a $5,000 laser cutter or something. That's like a huge step. But if you could do a small step, if you could take a local class, if you could, like for me, I work out of a maker space here in Boston. So, I didn't have to invest in a huge machine. I could just go and try it for a day and see how it goes. Like, so I think, yeah, I think just like, making sure that your heart's in the right place. Like, why do you want to pursue this thing? Making sure that it aligns with like your ability and skill. I mean, obviously you can learn things. There's a little bit of room. I could probably learn to sing a little bit better, but I'm not planning on it. But, like making sure that those things are in place, and then taking a small step in faith. I think like Eunice said, like God's not going to let us, like, he's not going to let me take out like a $5,000 laser cutter if that's not the thing that I'm supposed to do. So just kind of like using also like just wisdom, like checking with like counsel before you do anything too big. So I think just a
Awesome.
small step, like if you feel led to do something, take a small step in that direction, try it out, present it to like your friends, people who know you, who can kind of speak into your life, and then see if he like blesses it, as you move very slowly in that direction. That would be my advice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Daniela. I have loved this conversation. I have just, again, been amazed by your business. And I love just like the dream that the Lord's put on your heart, and you really started moving in that direction. And honestly, it's been blessed, right? I saw one of your, I don't know if it was a reel or Instagram post, where you shared how you really have been making a business out of this, and it's been helping your family's income, and that's incredible to me. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
Are there any last thoughts you want to share, or?
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, no, I guess if people like have any like questions specifically about creative businesses, I'd love to like chat with them and see if I have any wisdom to offer. But yeah,
That's
it's been like a
awesome.
huge blessing for us. And I'm excited to see how God continues to like lead us. And then I think the other thing is just like what I would say is just like holding things loosely. Like even now with the business, right? Like we're moving and I'm a mom and my schedule changes a lot every day. So just kind of like yeah, I guess that would be my last thing. Just, even with me in this business, like making sure that my heart's in the right place and that like I'm not like if the business starts to distract me from like my walk with God or my family. And that's a tension that I feel at times where it's like sometimes I think, well, if I didn't have these other duties and I had more time, I could be more productive and I could work more. But I really feel like the Lord reminding me that like the business is a blessing for my family. And the moment that my family starts to feel like a hindrance, then my heart has misaligned and I have to kind of realign myself to like what I know my life is about. So anyway, just an encouragement that even in whatever that journey is, like there's a lot of like reevaluating and realigning,
Mhm.
and prayerfully walking in whatever direction so that you're so that you continue to submit your steps to the Lord. So yeah, that's been at least like the journey for me, just kind of constantly reassessing and praying and thinking through what to do next.
That's amazing. No, I love that is amazing advice because I do think that all of us are prone to get distracted or move ahead of the Lord or just not have that good balance in our life. And so I love that reevaluation because nothing in life is perfect. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you again, Daniela. I will be sure to add her Instagram handle in the show notes. So please start following her, check out her business and her website. I'll put down there too. So thank you guys all so much for listening. I hope you have an amazing week. Bye bye.
Thank you.